Committee, and the recording is in progress. Tammy, 1 second, I blanket muted everybody. There we go.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome. This is, as we were saying, this is Manhattan Community Board 1. We have a big agenda tonight and a long meeting. We're going to start with our executive committee meeting, and I'm going to go lightning round through this so we can get to the meat of the Land Use, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee meeting. We've heard a lot of things over 2020 about how our full board could be improved, efficiency improvements. So Happy New Year to all of our board members and the public who are with us today. Here's what's going to happen for the January full board meeting. The public session will have a sign up that will open midday and will close before the start of our meeting. So it will close at 6 p.m. We will no longer be allowing people to sign up as the public session is in session. And that goes for a variety of different reasons, but in particular, because we can't actually, it's just chaos, as we've seen from the amount of engagement that we've had the last couple of months. So our public sessions will not be more than 1 hour. The public will get 2 minutes each. In the case of more than 30 minutes, 30 members of the public who sign up to speak, we'll reduce it down to 1 minute, and we will notify everybody so they have a chance to adjust their commentary if they need to. Again, it worked very well in the Landmarks Committee meeting, so we're going to go down that road again. The speaker will be muted after your allotted time, and we will have a timer running to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity. And I'm sorry if people get cut off, but I highly recommend, much as City Council, that you practice your timing before you get there. There's also, according to our bylaws, no guarantee that everyone who signs up will be able to speak. So if there's a group of people who are here for the same subject, you may be limited. You can always unmute yourself if you're recognized to speak and yield your time, or say something like, I completely agree with, figure out what's going to be the best opportunity. And written testimony is always welcome to be sent to our office. Okay. Moving forward, our elected officials will be part of the reporting of our business session, which is how we were.
Can I add one thing for the public session?
Sure. Please do.
I also want to remind everyone that when you do sign up for the public session, there's a box where you can put in your written notes, and I really recommend everyone do so. That's one way to make sure that your written testimony is included with everyone else's written testimony in a really easy way. So please do put in any kind of writing that you have, even if it would exceed 2 minutes worth of speaking.
Okay. So moving on to the business session, we're going to move our fantastic elected officials into our business session, which will be voted on after the prior month's minutes. When we do the meeting, we have heard from many people throughout our board, how can we improve the business session of how we do as well? And part of that improvement is, if you are interested in the topic, I highly encourage you as board members to go to any meeting that you're interested in. If you are here tonight for land use because you think it's really important and you want to hear about our POPs or the borough-based jails, please rely on the committee meetings instead of the reports during the full board. The report time, which used to be 10 minutes, will be lowered down to 5, because really we want the work to be done in the committee, especially when there's not a resolution to be discussed, which will then give us more.
Sorry, question, that's the report time, 5 minutes, you said, or 10 minutes in the full board meeting?
Yep, we used to allow in the full board meeting, you had 10 minutes if you had no resolutions. We're going to drop that to 5. Because what we want to do is give the board members the opportunity to have the dialogue back and forth, to spend the meat in what happens, which is our resolutions that we then move forward to city agencies, which gives us then an ideal goal of 10 to 15 minutes per resolution if we need it. And again, going back to some kind of decorum, we're asking board members to really for your comment and opining on a resolution. All right. We're going to go through everybody first. So if I've signed up to speak, and then Alice, and then Justine, and then Mariama, then we're going to go in that order. I would expect as that I would not then unmute myself to answer Justine, but if I have something else to say, I put my hand back up and we come back around on the loop. You are more than welcome to say something to the host. I didn't finish. I want to come back a second time. Not a problem. If you're constantly interrupting or constantly unmuting yourself, you know, we've got to have decorum. We've got to make it work. So that nice office person who has the mute button will mute you. If you are a repeat offender and you cannot control yourself, which I have full faith this will never happen for any of our board members, but you will get bumped down to the attendee section where then you will not be able to unmute yourself. I know it sounds tough, but the love is tough and the love is going to be fair. We want to hear from all 50 board members if they have something to say and allow them to have an opportunity to speak up. Which also means that for resolutions, if your committee meeting.
May I just put one thing with the business section?
Sure.
Just to
I'm rolling, so keep going.
Yeah, just to reinforce the more limited time for reports in order to have more time to discuss resolutions. I just want to remind everyone that our YouTube page has every single meeting for the past couple of months. We try to get the meetings up the day after the meeting has concluded, which means that by full board, anyone will have had the opportunity to review or peruse or just pop through and skim through every single committee meeting of the month. So there's a lot of detail there that one can get if there's interest. So I just want to really urge everyone to subscribe to that channel, review the meetings. There's transcripts included. And if you don't see the meeting that you want, then let us know. We're trying to backfill all the way to March when we started doing this over time. So we can definitely skip to meetings that you want. So with that, Tammy, sorry for interrupting your role. Back to it.
I am totally cool. You know, that doesn't bother me. Okay, resolutions. We really would like everybody to get your resolutions done and sent to the office before noon on Friday, before the full board meeting. Almost all the committees meet prior to that day. I understand for quality of life, who's usually on this day in the month, that's a little tough. But other than that, everybody else meets before then. So we really want those in so we can circulate them to the public and to the board so they can review them before the office. If you're having trouble, right, you got to let the office know and let me know, because we want to get as much engagement as we can and have people answer their questions and things like that. All right. A link to the resolutions will be available during the meeting as if we were in person when we hand out printed ones. You'll be able to click the link through the chat so you can go through it as well. And the therefore be it resolved statements will be shown on the screen for every resolution so we know what we're voting on. When we group them together, we can flash them up so everyone can see it. All right. If you're making a complicated friendly amendment, it has to be nice and clearly stated. And if you can email it to the CB1 secretary so we can ensure we have all the wording correct. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I see Mariama's hand up. I'm assuming that's for this.
Yes, two quick ones. So the written testimony, to where does it go? Like, what do we do with it after we receive it? If I were to send written testimony, for example, to the councilwoman's office, right? It's so that she can review it as part of a decision for later. But if we're already beyond the whatever committee meeting or public session for which the comment was made, what happens to it after that?
Mariama, when any office or official has a hearing, there's this kind of a special intent for having a lot of information collected and then filed in a really specific kind of a policy bucket or item bucket for the public session. As you know, people can really bring anything. The idea of having the sign-in sheet be a place where people put the written comments means that it's all stored together. So we preserve the sign-in sheets or the sign-in. It's like a spreadsheet, but you store lots of information inside of it, and that can be reviewed. So if somebody was asked, I'd like to see all the written comment from this meeting, I could easily go through and then pull all the written comment together from that meeting. and maybe even search by.
Okay. So
topic.
how many, do we know how many characters the sign-in sheet allows for on a comment? Is it the equivalent of say
that's
1
that's
minute?
a really good question. Let me take a second to get you an accurate answer, and then I'll chime in.
Okay. Because should probably try to make it, if possible, the equivalent of a 1 minute comment. So if someone doesn't get to make their comment, you have the full thing, as opposed to just, the topic they were going to speak on. What was the other thing I wanted to ask you about? I don't remember my other question. I'll put my hand back up if I remember. Thanks.
Thanks, Mariama.
I'm confused about Mariama's last question. I'm sorry.
She's asking because we are reducing the, how many characters, how long can your can your public comment be when you submit it? Quite frankly, we've had public comment emailed to us. It's been pages long, and we've had short ones. So I am not worried when people email the office. We certainly make everything available.
Thank you.
Lucian was speaking to typing the comment right on the sign-in sheet. So that was why I had asked specifically how many characters it allows.
I see.
It looks like I'm seeing that it looks like it's 50,000 characters.
Yikes! Oh, okay. That sounds like plenty.
So that's like War and Peace. Nobody's telling us the War and Peace, but yeah, it's a treatise for sure. Definitely more than 2 minutes. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mariama. Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else? Hands up. If you let's just make sure we don't have any board members and attendees that I've missed. Nope. I think we're good. Everybody good? We're going to pilot this out for full board this month, and we're seriously hoping, no offense, I love you all. I really don't want to be there till 11 o'clock ever again. So with that note, let's hit committee reports. We'll go around and then
sorry.
Jeff
here. Hi, I'm representing Youth and Ed tonight because Trisha's otherwise occupied with something else.
Yes.
I'm just wondering.
You want to go first?
No, that'd be great. But also I'm asking, do we think these reforms are really going to get, the last meeting was 5 hours long.
I will tell you what happened during the public session. We opened, of the longest full board sessions we've had since July. The reason why the public sessions ended up pushing us back so long are twofold. One, people signed up between 6 and 7.
I get that.
And we allowed them. So that won't happen anymore. And two, people were signing up for rebuttals all the way through. And as people may or may not know and have heard, there was a lot of complaining by certain parties that not everybody in their organization got to speak. And so we allowed a little bit more flexibility, but we really are going back to the basics of how we engage and making it efficient.
I'm saying, have you noted when we actually got to the board? Because I'm thinking it was around 8:15, 8 o'clock. If that's the case, you're only shaving an hour off. It's still absurd to be going till 10 o'clock and having a 5 hour or 4 hour meeting, in my view. So I'm wondering if there's more radical things that can happen to get it under 3 hours.
Let's see if people won't interrupt as we move forward. All right. Jeff, hang on, because there are 4 more hands up, and then we're coming back to you. You're going to start with Youth and Ed. Bruce, you've already gone. Mariama, Colin, your hand's up. You have not gone yet.
Yeah, first of all, I always pride myself in being as quick as I possibly can be, but no one should have to apologize for these rules. These are standard Robert's rules. You allot time, you allot procedures, that's it. You can't deviate from them, and I applaud this. I would only add, if I don't know what our bylaws are in terms of public comment, but if we're doing, I'm just throwing numbers out, I apologize, but if we're doing 20 minutes only for public comments, then we need to cut off people at a certain point. I can't do the math in my head, but if it's 2 minutes per people, then cut them off at the threshold of 20 minutes.
You may have missed that, but we have a muter and a timer. So that's exactly where we're going.
Okay,
we have
cool.
one of the office is going to mute and one of the office is going to hit the timer.
Great. I applaud it. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Cole.
Mercilessly.
Yes.
Hold on. I just want to say it was a particular meeting. These are big issues. I think in all fairness, you let everybody speak. I think these are great rules and let's go forward. I think that's the way it should be. It was, but you know, that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, no choice.
Excellent. Okay, Elizabeth Lewinson, hands up. Love to hear you.
So if I think about the meeting last month, and I try to
Yes.
diagnose, which I'm sure you have done, Tammy, along with, you know, Alice and everyone else, but if I try to diagnose what was wrong with that meeting, I mean, I agree with all the things that you mentioned with the public session and all of that and the reports, but I also think that the friendly amendments became a problem. I think that there was so much debate over the friendly amendments and back and forth. I couldn't even stay to the end of the meeting because I had to get off at, I don't know, like 10:45 or whatever. But so I was on the entire time for 4 and 45 minutes. And then, you know, it was sort of kind of a waste, I think, to have to get off the last 15 minutes. But the point that I'm trying to make is I think the friendly amendments became something that really delayed the meeting quite a bit. And we seem to have a lot more friendly amendments in recent meetings than we've ever had before. I wonder if there's some creative way to deal with the friendly amendments such that, and I'm sure you're not going to be able to get this for every friendly amendment, but such that if you're sending out the resolutions in advance, can't people who want to propose a friendly amendment maybe do so in advance, maybe write to Lucian or you or something? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's a way of dealing with it so that you can go quicker with the friendly amendments rather than let it sort of hold up the whole meeting. Is there something we can do about that, or it's sort of more organic and part of the process?
It's part of the process. It is definitely on the organic side. So, you know, if it's somebody who sends it in advance, it still has to be read at the meeting and
Right.
agreed to. That's part and
Agreed.
parcel
I know.
to how the community board process works. But we are asking people to be able to type it up, copy it in, so office knows what it is, the secretary, and we can actually even then read it back out to ensure that we have it correct. That is also
Okay.
my goal, Elizabeth, to make sure that people, if you're interested in it, go to the committee meeting.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's really what, I mean, and it's so easy because we're virtual. You could tune in for 10, 15 minutes and tune out while you're stirring a bowl of pasta for your family or for your, so from my perspective, I think it's a win-win. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that even after the pandemic, we should continue to make these meetings virtual so that people have the ability to sort of, you know, go to them more easily, right?
That's the goal.
Okay.
That's
Anyway.
the goal. Awesome.
All right,
thank you, Elizabeth. All right. Bruce, back to you. Your hand's still up or no?
Yes, first of all, in terms of what Susan said, this has been so long in coming. The last time it was tried, but only piecemeal, was when Madeline Wills was chair. And I remember over this issue, an actual fist fight broke out on the floor. So I think that it's codified and that it's ordinary and pertains to everybody's just wonderful, number one. And number two, I just want to point out that the last meeting, as was said, was unique. There were huge issues. The only thing that I would add, and I don't know if there's any way to control this, that let's say a quarter of the thousands of people who wanted to speak about, let's say, 250 Water Street or a particular issue like that, were utterly irrelevant to our procedures and what we can do by law in addressing certain issues. Is there any way to control that?
We're working on it. We're working on it. That's all I'll say. All right. I think with that, Bruce closes it. I don't see any other hands up on this topic. I do want to get to committee reports because, again, we're really trying to get to land use. If you have anything hot that we need to know will be controversial at full board, please tell us. If not, let's do committee reports, chick-chocks quick. And we're going to start with Jeff Myhock, and then we've got, yep. That's it. So Jeff, you go first. After Jeff, we're going to do Paul Goldstein. After Paul, we're going to do Bruce. So that gives you the running order so far.
I'm going to keep mine brief in the spirit of what we're talking about. Two resolutions. One resolution is around the DOE has made moves to try to get principals to refund money that they were given for their budgets. It's been this could be a longer explanation, but I'll keep it as brief as possible. Generally speaking, schools are given a working budget, and then in late October, when their registers solidify, if they haven't taken in the number of students they were budgeted for, they're asked to return some of that money. This year, they waited until now, pretty much, to say, okay, now that you have your full complement of students that are actually in your institution, we want refunds if you don't have as many as you thought you had. Obviously, it's been a very fluid year with families leaving the city, trying other options for education in a year that's disrupted. And so it would be devastating to many schools to have to actually return the money budgeted for the year. It would result in possible teacher layoffs, which is pretty much unprecedented during, obviously this moment would be totally unprecedented. So the bottom line is we've written a resolution saying that the city should take the hit financially and schools should be left to function as best they can. No one's making money off this. You're just talking about people keeping their jobs. We're not talking about bonuses or anything like that. It's just keeping schools stable. So there's a resolution for that. And then there's a resolution because there's been a little bit of hearsay that the city, DOE, and Bloom and de Blasio, as they did last April, when they summarily just said, you know what, there's not going to be a spring break a month into the COVID pandemic. When families were already reeling from that, they just announced summarily, oh, we're not going to have a break. No breaks for anyone. And it was just really upsetting and devastating to lots of families. Most schools did some kind of fancy footwork anyway that wasn't particularly effective anyway, just to get around what they needed to do. So there was some rumors about that maybe happening again to try to get days back from the late start, which was started late because the DOE didn't plan well, had the entire summer to plan. Teachers, by the way, did not go back late. They were all back right on the first day of school and had been in school as a normal year would go, no extra days off per se. So we wrote a resolution just preemptively, since there was precedent that they had once before taken breaks away, saying that it would be very disruptive and very upsetting to families, students, and teachers to all of a sudden be told you don't have the breaks that are on the calendar. The calendar's been out since the start of the year. Families are using that calendar to make plans for their year, to kind of pace themselves for the year. These are some of the whereases, and it's simple, just be it resolved that the community board one is opposed to the DOE making any late changes to the school schedule that's already been established well before the start of the school year, and with knowledge of what the school year would look like, with knowledge of the lost days at the start for students. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. Moving on. Paul, Bruce. After Bruce is going to be Betty.
Okay, I don't think we have much in the way of controversy. We got an update on the World Trade Center Perlman Performing Arts Center. Things are coming along there. They are behind scheduled to open next year instead of this year. But it sounds like, when it does open, we're going to be in good shape. Mike Bloomberg is back involved raising money for it. Next, we had a quarterly update, Hudson River Park. Again, nothing out of the ordinary here. We obviously talked mainly about Piers 25, 26 and what's going on there. Talked about some of the opening of Pier 26, the tide deck, as they call it, which allows you access to the outer end of the pier, which they're still working on, some programming they're putting in. So that was that. The estuarium is coming along, but slowly. They're really not raising any money. Actually, the biggest news was that it was announced that Madeline Wills is stepping down as head of Hudson River Park. So,
Goodness, is she going to work in the Biden administration?
I don't know. I'm going to have to find out, but
Who's taking her place?
I think her deputy, just for now, but I'm sure the governor will appoint somebody of his liking to that position. So stay tuned. Okay, next, we had a report from the leaders of CB10 about a project that they're sponsoring to put up an exhibit on the Exonerated Five. Those are the 5 individuals who 20 years ago, I don't know how many people are familiar with the story, there was a jogger in Central Park that was attacked, and 5 youth were actually convicted of doing the crime, but ultimately it was determined that they did not do it. And the board, 10 people are trying to point out, A, what happened to these 5 individuals, B, the racial injustice and systemic reforms needed in the system. So they gave us a lengthy update on what they have in mind. The borough president apparently recommended that they go to all the community boards, and our committee did want to support this. So we didn't do a resolution, but we are recommending that we do a letter of support. And they indicated that many of the other boards have handled the issue in that manner. So that's coming up. And the last item is a resolution, but I don't think it should be controversial. We're just trying to recognize the fine job done by a woman named Marsha Guido, who was in charge of, she was like the community liaison for Bogagas Plaza. And we thought it would be nice to recognize someone for a job well done. Sorry, board members don't seem to come into that category, but we did a nice resolution recognizing her, and that's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. Moving on to Bruce, Betty, Susan, and then Alice. Everybody knows their order. Let's go. Bruce.
We have 2 resolutions, one of them fairly simple. It's a prominent on Battery Place. That's a provisional affirmative. This may surprise some people. We gave rave reviews to a huge signage package at the Tin Building. Howard Hughes was there. I have been told that they were expecting, as Howard Hughes told the designer, oh boy, that committee is tough. And he said to Howard, to Saul, Cheryl, they're not tough if it's good design and it's contextual. And boy, was he surprised. Anyway, it's actually a great proposal. And the other thing I want to say, and I'll be done, is that we as a board did a tremendous job on 250 Water Street. It's one of the biggest things we've handled in landmarks. And Paul and Tammy and Alice, Roger, Jason, we worked together and quickly, and the LPC, against enormous pressures, as just the same pressures that we were under, basically followed us. Some commissioners actually quoted from our resolution without crediting us, but still quoted from it. And they sent Howard Hughes back to the drawing board for the reasons that we specified. I'm done. I don't know. Did I freeze?
You're done. Awesome. Nope, you're good. Thanks, Bruce. Betty, Susan, Alice. That's the.
Bruce did forget his second resolution.
I said I said Battery Place and the Tin Building.
Perfect. Don't worry. We're good.
Okay.
What's happening on Battery Place? Like, hands up.
Here. It's not here. It's around the corner. Justine. It's around the corner.
Thank you. My hand's down now.
Bruce, please make sure that Lucy has all of your resolutions by tomorrow.
Yes. Jason's doing Tin and I'm doing Battery Place. Yes.
Betty?
Okay, transportation has three resolutions. First one is just a signage change in front of a residence, which in fact is supported by the manager, the residents, as well as Battery Park City Authority. So it was all yes votes, not contentious. The second resolution is going to be about revocable consent around the Battery Park City Ball Field Resiliency Project, which again, the community board has already advocated for the project itself. This is just talking about the sidewalks that surround it. And again, it voted without any negatives against it. So I don't expect that to be contentious at full board. Those who are interested though, by all means, do look at our film and you can get more details about any of these items, as well as reading them. And the third item, moped share in our district, is going to be a revisiting of one that was brought forward last month at the very end of that very long meeting. And again, it's been reframed, not around Revel, but the fact of what it really is, and that is the legislation and other issues. It's about the industry, it's at the moped share. So I hope everybody focuses on that when they're reading it. Revel is one of the businesses, but nevertheless, if you're interested, go look at the tape of the meeting, and this passed with just one abstention, everybody else in favor on committee. So we'll see how the full board feels. Thanks.
Thank you, Betty. Susan, licensing?
Yeah, we have 3 resolutions. One is for Governor's Island. It's the spa on Andes Road. We approved the spa, I guess, way back for the financial, when we had a financial district, I believe. But now they want to have a restaurant and whatever, and it was non-controversial. We asked some questions about how they were going to keep it open, and they're going to have ferry service, and it's all part of Governor's Island, but it didn't seem to be a problem. And we had something on Worth Street. The one issue was 316 Greenwich, and that is for this place called Cocoon. It is the base of Independence Plaza on the west side, and we had some discussion from the community. We're working on the resolution. We think maybe it is a members club. And if those of you can remember Spring Street, so we're trying to get some order in that, but we're putting in a variety of things in the resolution because we want to make sure that this doesn't become a bar and liquor, you know, a tavern with liquor for the tenants. They're very concerned, and these people really have no concept of what they're running. But we were told that young people like to go and take their kids. Since I'm old, I don't know this, to take their kids and have drinks while their children tumble on all these toys. So a revelation for me, but you will all read the resolution. I almost fell over, but I was told, and I decided I could be flexible at 76 years old. What the hell? But it's quite hilarious, but they don't really have a clear business plan. So we're putting a variety of things into the resolution. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everybody. EPC here. Just a couple of pesky items. 250 Water Street and Governor's Island environmental impact statements were reviewed and presented. We have written a letter for 250 Water Street, and when I say we, this is often our famous Diana Sweet who writes these letters, and I really want to do a big shout out to her and a thank you, in addition to working on the landmarks. In any case, that's gone out and is part of, is in the hands of DCP, I hope, and I assume will appear, if not already, on our website. The Governor's Island comments have not yet gone out. They'll go out Monday. And so I would encourage anyone who has additional comments that they'd like to make on the draft environmental impact statement. This is not a scope of work. This is the impact statement. Please go ahead and put those to Diana and myself. Additionally, just an update that Tammy and I attended the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resiliency meeting today, and we're able to speak up on asking for a number of things, including, you know, how Governor's Island and an HRPT will coordinate with the updated FIDI Seaport plans and fiscal concerns and such, which maybe Tammy will go into later. And lastly, upcoming meetings just for next month, we're going to have the Battery Park City Authority back to update us on those very important plans, as well as the Office of Resiliency. I think it is hopeful in March. That's it. Thanks.
Justine, you're going to go next.
Thank you. All right, so the Battery Park City Committee, we have one resolution to talk about and just two updates. So one was Oval Park, Pump House Park. There was signage there that was put up when they opened up the grassy area, and it said no ball playing, no running, as well as no dogs. We made a little bit of a fuss. We discussed it. Alex from Brookfield, what's his last name? Lisco. He was not able to come to our meeting, but we did schedule a phone call after the meeting, and he actually agreed, and before our phone call, took the signs down. He has, after our phone call, agreed to come back to us and let us look at the signage beforehand, because he said he really was not looking to cut back or change the usage. He was glad to have people not on it when the grass was growing, but so all good. That's simple and easy, good. Second thing we talked about in our meeting was ground rents and condominium affordability in Battery Park City. I'm not going to go into details, no resolution. We heard from two entities. The Homeowners Coalition gave us an update on what or the lack of progress they're really making with the Battery Park City Authority. And then there's a new group that has formed called the Battery Alliance. And they are even more rabble-rousing, bomb-throwing, I don't know what the word is, crazy people than I am. So I really like them a lot. But they are a little bit extreme on one end, and the Homeowners Coalition is on the other end, and we are just going to keep the conversation going. And we're going to take it from ground rents, which is Battery Park City Committee, to also the payment in lieu of taxes and taxes, regular real estate taxes outside of our committee, and do it with quality of life. So that's that. And I can go on forever, but I'm not. And the only resolution, oh, sorry, go ahead. You have something?
Keep going.
The only resolution we have is about the control houses in the public right of way that's been placed in, or that's being proposed for Battery Park City. So basically AECOM, who's the entity who's been hired by the Battery Park City Authority to do the Southern Battery Park City Resiliency Project, has come back and actually in June came to us with this proposition and said, here's our draft of what's going to go on. And it was like a floored all of us to see that they have these huge control houses to house equipment that are apparently vitally necessary to protect. There's something, and Alice could explain it better than I ever can. There's something to do with the under the ground water, and they have to have the control houses that are going to control how a gate goes down to close it off, so it protects from seepage as well as water flow in and out, and blah blah blah. So, with my lack of understanding of all things, I don't know, architectural, I accept the fact that we need to have them. The problem is where they decided they wanted to put them. We've gotten a lot of feedback from condo owners in the area. We've gotten a lot of feedback from other residents in the area. And so our resolution is basically putting forth some alternate locations for them to explore, because the places that they have put forth are just totally unacceptable. One of which is along the promenade. So like, think about where the Ritz-Carlton is, along the promenade there, like in the middle of the promenade or in the trees or something like that. It's like, no, we don't want it there. And then depending on how things work out, they might have had to take over in West Thames Park on the corner of West Thames Street and West Street, that little grassy area that's there at the south end of the corner. They were going to take that over. And so when you hear about what these control houses are, they're 13.2 feet high and 70 feet long, possibly. That would be the height and the length of how big they're going to be. So we're talking about huge structures. So anyhow, Bob Schneck and I walked around and got some alternate locations that we thought would be less offensive, at least aesthetically. Now, we've asking in the resolution to have AECOM and the Battery Park City Authority look at some of the suggested locations and look at other ones that they can come up with and see if anything else is feasible. That's it. And with that passed unanimously.
Justine, I had an email exchange with the chair of CB8, and what we're going to try and do is hook up the Roosevelt Island leadership in terms of the residential leadership to have a dialogue with you and the homeowners in Battery Park City, because they are the two state authorities in Manhattan, to see if we can have some best practices on a Zoom call back and forth. So stay tuned. We'll do that coming up in February.
Excellent.
And then Okay, so I'm going to close out the executive session after one announcement. I think I've gotten everybody. If I haven't, please interrupt me and let me know. We're moving, unfortunately, I feel so bad for Marissa from Earth Matters. We're moving her into February. Thank you so much for being patient with our scheduling this month. Budget cuts looking ahead for year 2022 will move to next month, and municipal elections. The one thing that I do need to talk about tonight that is not on our agenda, that is new business for executive, is a program that was passed by City Council called Open Culture. And it has been enacted. It was a bill that was signed last year, although gracious knows I don't remember any of it. DOT must confer with city council members, and SAPO is going to do permitting. I haven't seen the hours yet, but basically it is street entertainment. And we are going to recommend single block segments on a mixed use corridor. Raised or flush medians are acceptable. No more than one lane of traffic in either direction, not on a bus route or a truck route, can't be next to a hospital, a firehouse, police precinct, not a major thoroughfare, not on restaurant open street routes. So it's kind of limited, but we do have some really amazing opportunities to allow people to perform and really be able to enliven Lower Manhattan, which would be great. So there are locations over by the seaport that we can suggest. We certainly have enough closed streets over by World Trade Center that we can suggest. So we are looking forward to opportunities where we could do that, which we'll see what the hours and other things are. And with that, I think, I see hands up. Jeff, is your hand still up?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What's up, Jeff?
Want to be sure that I heard correctly. There's a thought about once we can have live meetings, not having live meetings, but having them be all virtual.
There's a legislation out there right now. The goal would be to always have a virtual component to be able to provide accessibility. I don't know, and we don't really get a lot of choice. We've already passed resolutions on requesting that. How the government chooses to structure the meetings, whether the board members will have to be present, I don't know yet. And that has to do with how they will view quorum and attendance and other things that are well out of my control, and how they opine for both city council and, Senate and Congress. So the goal would always be to have a virtual component to enable the public who may not be able to travel, right, to come. And then we don't have to worry as much about meeting locations and things like that. But I don't know the long term on that.
So is there a philosophical thought to try to do that? I'm just wondering. Let's say that I would be opposed to that. I think we're losing a lot by not having a live meeting. I'm just going to say that. That's all. Perfect.
All right. Lucian, your hand is up. Do you have something that you want to add?
Oh, no, I put that up at the very beginning and I forgot to bring it down. Wow, I actually did that on my own. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Mariama, you're next.
Quality of life obviously is a meeting this month, but I still wanted to make sure that everybody who was interested had heard the good news that Sleep No More.
I'm sorry, I skipped you.
It's okay. We're not meeting, but Sleep No More has been paused. The judge gave them a big no. Largely based on what Community Board 1 submitted as part of, our 2 meetings that we had on that issue. The licensing committee meeting for that month of, February of 2020, I think, and the prior meeting that was dedicated to large venues. They took all that information, judge shut them down.
Which makes me remind you that you must get back into doing the large venue working group and figuring out how that's going to work as we look ahead, because while we are fairly tight now, I guarantee that this will be a dialogue that will come back to us. It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. The pause or stay, I think, is only for like 3 months. And then there's another entity, government entity that picks it up from there. I'm not sure of the whole process, but for right now, they have to cease whatever it is they've been doing. Just wanted to share that. with everybody.
Thank you. That's really important. Going back, Susan, you're next. And Jeff, if you're done, put your hand down. If not, I see that you're up. But we're going to go Susan and Pat.
Just quickly, I happen to agree with Jeff. I think that we lose something with Zoom, but also the 18 Exchange. There was a letter of denying them a license. But again, as Tammy said, we have to be on top of it because they're going to go under another name, back up to the Liquor Authority, all kinds of things. So we're never out of the woods. That's all.
And that's okay, because I mean, in reality, we are business friendly. We have supported many restaurants and many stores and many hotels. We are not anti-establishment by any means. It just has to fit within the urban landscape we've got.
And that's why the SLA does listen to us a lot of times.
Exactly. All righty. Thank you, Susan. Pat Moore.
Better note, I just wanted to remind everyone, I hope everyone got the invitation for the holiday party, the virtual holiday party, which is happening next Wednesday. And would you please RSVP to me? And also, if you're going to attend, we'd like everybody to come up with a clue that you keep secret for our CB1 location trivia game. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Pat and Mimi, for taking that on this year. It'll be different, but I can promise you I'm ready with my cocktail for next week. So I hope to see you all there.
And Francis.
Can I ask Pat a question?
And Francis, yes. Of course, Francis. Yep, go for it.
So I was wondering if there was a way that we could maybe patronize one of the local restaurants like we normally would, and maybe even still get a discount by all ordering from like similar places or the same place or something.
Oh, I don't know about that because it's kind of late, but what we are doing is we're going to have prizes, and they are going to get certificates from several of our local establishments.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great. Thank you.
On the same page, Mariama. And Francis, sorry, I didn't mean to leave you off. Anybody else's hands up? Nope. So with that, at 6:57, let's close the executive committee meeting. Diane.